Okay, where everyone's here, we'll call the meeting to order. Have a roll call done
Okay. Ken Anderson,
here.
Larry Hafner,
Here.
Franklin Hahn,
Here.
Wayne Ronigan,
Here.
Ken Bisker. All right.
Just go to the hearing right away. I think that's 5 o'clock. Maybe do a minute when we get the chance.
Okay.
So public reading of the notice.
Okay. Please take notice that an application was received from the following persons for a variance of setback requirements. Kathy Lunish, part of the northwest quarter, the northeast corner, beginning at the northeast corner, thence west 420 feet, and south 924 feet, thence 442 feet. Section 6, Township 103, Range 6, Houston County, Minnesota. Houston Township variance of setback requirements to reduce side yard setbacks for a proposed building, section 14.8 subdivision 1. The hearing on this application will be held at the Houston County Commissioners Room, City of Caledonia, Minnesota, 55921 at 5:20 on Thursday, September 22nd, 2022. All persons having an interest in this matter will be given the opportunity to submit comments relative to the granting or denying of said application. Comments should be mailed to the Environmental Services Department, 304 South Marshall Street, Caledonia, Minnesota, 55921, or emailed to martin.herrick@co.houston.mn.us and must be received by Tuesday, September 13th, 2022. Comments in regard to the petition received by this date will be part of the public record and will be made available for review by the Board of Adjustment prior to the meeting.
Did that say 2020 or 5:20 or 5 o'clock?
It says 5:20.
Mine says 5 o'clock.
I think
Mine
it's,
says, I thought it was 5
I
o'clock.
wonder if you have an older version. I think you have an older version.
okay,
Because
Yeah.
we said that 5 o'clock.
I think, yeah,
So, I
right.
mean, they're here at 5 o'clock, just making that correction.
right, right.
Hear that in the video and realize. we
Yes,
didn't pick up.
yes, make that, yes, correct that to 5 o'clock, so,
Why don't you go on with the staff report?
okay. The variance request is to place a 24 by 40-foot garage within the 50-foot setback for side yards in the Ag Protection District. The garage with the approximate dimensions are shown on your. The notable things about it, it's located close to County 13. The proposed setback is from the quarter property line. It's a wooded site. Vehicle access is from County 13. The side yard is limited. No comments were received for it. Property consists of 9.27 acres of farmland and woodlands. They do have the 0.9 acres. They're good there. The garage is relatively flat with the toe of adjacent bluff greater than 25 feet away. There are no mapped water features or wetlands. The woodland occupies the steeper part of the site. The tillable soils are Bertrand silt loam, and it has a subclass of 2E and is good for forage and pasture. And so basically, I guess if you want to describe, your project.
Welcome.
Hi.
Right.
Just putting up a garage. Next.
Name.
Oh, Kathy Lunish.
Thank you.
Yeah, just putting up a garage. Originally, when I built my home, that was in the future plans too. So I know I had talked about it at the meeting when, way back when I put the home on the property. And I can't put it on the other side because my well is there. And then my other flat spot, it's way too close to the roadway. And then so it has to go over there, and it's just encroaching over on Cleon Kelly's a little bit. And I've talked to Cleon.
Isn't there a dry run behind your property there too, or am I mistaken?
And where the runoff from the hill comes down, there's
Yeah,
a
but it goes
spillway.
into that, it doesn't go on your property, it goes in that, well, I call it a dry run. Isn't there a dry run behind your?
A big dip, yeah. Yeah.
Well, I call it a dry run.
So it is really the only place.
Yeah, unless I put it in the field, which is across the dry run. Then how do I get my vehicles there?
Especially after it rains.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. Rains, and especially after like when the snow melts, it comes downhill and just, it floods that bottom area.
Will you have to do any dirt work,
No.
fill or anything like that? That 40 by 24 will fit on that site?
Yes, perfectly, yep.
Questions for either?
It's a variance of 15 feet from the 50-foot
Okay, so
side yard,
you still have about 30,
right?
30
You got it.
plus.
Area around
Yeah.
it's pretty filled in. And the garage, we'll go over that in the findings, but that's certainly seems to be blocking anything.
Okay. Listen, no other questions, we can move on then. Go through the findings that we have
Yes.
to do. Thank you.
Number one, the variance request is in harmony with the intent and purpose of official controls. Staff analysis, the residence and associated structures are located in the non-tillable acreage of the parcel, aiding the preservation of commercial agriculture, which is a goal of the comprehensive land use plan. This is in harmony with the general trend of increasing farm size. Commercial farmers require additional cropland, but do not necessarily require additional farmsteads.
Any comments, questions? All in favor of staff analysis, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Go ahead.
Number two, there are practical difficulties in complying with the official controls, and the proposed use of the property is reasonable. Economic considerations alone do not constitute practical difficulties. Staff analysis concerning the proposed building, any resolution other than a variance would involve the acquisition of additional land, which necessitates a willing seller. This is in concert with the lot's terrain, which has limited buildable locations, including the need for a second location for a septic system.
Comments or questions? All in favor of staff analysis, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign.
Number three, the variance request is due to special conditions or circumstances unique to the property and not created by the property owner. Staff analysis, the parcel has limited buildable locations due to steep slopes. The owner's limited options to resolve the issue represents a special condition not created by the property owner. The board may further find that the limited area represents a special condition.
Comments, questions? All in favor of staff analysis, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Go
Yep.
ahead.
Number four, the variance cannot be alleviated by a reasonable method other than a variance, and the minimum variance which would alleviate the practical difficulty is sought. Staff analysis, the board may find that the variance related to the proposed building is the only way to feasibly resolve the setback issue, and that the 15-foot variance to the 50-foot side yard setback is the minimum variance that would alleviate the practical difficulty of limited buildable space.
Comments, questions? All in favor of the staff analysis, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign.
Number five, the variance will not alter the essential character of the locality nor substantially impair property values or the public health, safety, or welfare in the vicinity. Staff analysis, the existing building and the proposed garage are blocked from most view sheds by the terrain and the woodland. The garage will not have a septic system or any commercial activities. The addition of the garage is not anticipated to have any effect on the above criteria.
Comments, questions?
Well, I have a question. So this is just a garage. There's no water, electric.
Electric,
sewer? Okay,
but no water.
okay.
Anyone else? Comment? All in favor of staff analysis, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign.
Number six, the request is not a use variance and shall not have the effect of allowing any use that is not allowed in the zoning district, permit a lower degree of flood protection than the regulatory flood protection of elevation, or permit standards lower than those required by state law. Staff analysis, non-attached automotive garages are allowed accessory buildings for a single-family dwelling in the agricultural district. There is no map floodplain on the parcel. There are no known state standards applicable to the request.
Comments, questions? All in favor of staff analysis, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. We have to have a motion to accept our staff analysis
So move.
or criteria findings.
No second.
And we do a roll call. All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Then we need a motion on a variance if we want to do it.
The recommendation.
The recommendation, read the recommendation.
Yes. The board must consider the information presented above and criteria findings pursuant to section 110-1205 of the Houston County zoning ordinance. Should the board elect to grant the variance request, staff recommends no conditions. Proposed motion, grant the following variance of 15 feet from the east property line. And yes. Then in addition, another. See, Okay. right, it's made a motion to grant a variance of 15 feet to reduce side yard setback requirements for a proposed building.
Okay,
So
we need a motion to do that.
I'll make a motion, we grant the variance.
Motion by Larry, seconded by Kenny this way. Comments, questions? Motion. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carried. Take care of it.
Good luck. Man can't have a big enough garage.
Yeah, you can't have them big enough.
Okay, so we've got a few minutes before the next hearing. Motion to approve our minutes from the June 23rd meeting.
So moved.
Motion by Ken Visser, second.
I'll second it.
Second by Larry. Comments, questions? Been a while since we did it. It's hard to remember all that.
yes.
Hearing none, that's all in favor of accepting minutes, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Yeah. Okay, anything else that we need to do over before the next hearing?
I'm gonna recuse myself from the Sandvik one. That's-
From the, okay,
Fred is a friend of mine and I cannot be impartial.
okay.
I was already looking for all you guys in the other building when I was over there, and I'm like, where are all the cars? And then, well, everybody's parked over on this side, no wonder. Wandering around. Trying to find you.
Probably because you're more familiar with the Justice Center.
Good one. Way back in the day.
When we were waiting on the one, right, so you must have older copies.
Yep.
The ones that I was waiting on.
Okay, sounds good. Oh, what time? Okay, that'd be good. We'll look for you. Thanks.
I just put mine to silent.
Well, I don't know if you heard, I hear it in my hearing. The phone rings through my hearing.
Oh, no, we heard it.
But oh, you did?
Yeah.
Yeah,
I thought it was yours.
Yeah.
You did too, because you. picked it
Yeah,
up,
well,
but it's kind of like I'm waiting for a plumber to come and he's going to be there tomorrow morning.
it wasn't my ringtone.
No, there you go. Yeah, and you don't want to hold up the plumber. Because you'll not get another one.
Yeah.
I've been waiting about a year to get you.
Oh,
Yeah, you want to be there when he's there. Is he from Spring Grove?
Yeah, yeah. We had some problems with retaining wall on the nerve storage. Got to put a green tile on the outside of it to keep it from washing. Finally got the concrete out away from it, so. Excavator to put that in. That's what it is.
you spent some money down on it. Jake.
Yeah, you don't want to lose that.
I put a little one up at my place. And cost staggered me. I did the first one myself. Okay.
Something
It's
to
five,
put in.
it's 520.
But the frost got
Yeah.
behind it.
We're being efficient.
Push
And
it,
then
not
when
having a-
When they ask you questions.
whole
about the
state,
ones that,
you know, retaining or something to stabilize it.
Yeah.
Then
Oh,
you
right,
Waste.
bulletproof
got
vest.
the waste on the other side.
Yeah, it's a problem.
So I gotta deal
He
with
did,
it.
he recused himself.
Yeah,
Oh, we did.
yeah.
So then do you get inside of the skid loader to clean it?
Yeah,
or-
that's all I ever did.
Wednesday, Bensley. It's a joy. It's a lot of fun. Golf yesterday.
I went out there, it was the Ascentec Open.
Oh, God, yeah, there's a lot of cars.
They were parked out on that road.
I went out way later in the afternoon and golfed with some friends from Houston.
Well, it was open?
Yeah, we had fitting with tournaments. and
yeah.
We were able to get on the front with
Oh,
it. So golfing Saturday and that tournament they got.
We mean, it's 5:20. Let's
Yep,
get going.
yep.
So start with the,
For that tournament.
Oh, geez.
So I tried to team the match up with it, so.
Yeah, we'll call the meeting to order.
and you would just make a note, you were gonna recuse yourself.
Yeah,
from
I-
the hearing, so.
I don't feel I can be.
Make it
partial,
official.
right.
Okay.
Yeah, get it in a minute.
That's what I want this in the minutes have before. Then go ahead.
Okay.
With the notice and.
Please take notice that an application was received from the following persons for a variance of setback requirements. Hickory Orchard LLC. I'll go through part of this, but Northwest Quarter. I'm not sure, something E, 510 feet Township Road easement and the east 5 acres of the northwest of Evans Hill Road and part of the southeast quarter, northwest quarter, to Sandvik vacated town road, section 11, township 104, range 5, Houston County, Minnesota, Mountain Prairie Township. One, a variance of setback requirements to reduce side yard setbacks for an existing dwelling on the west property line, section 14.8 subdivision 1. Second one is variance of setback requirements to reduce rear yard setback for an existing dwelling on the south property line, section 14.9 subdivision 1. A hearing on this application will be held at the Houston County Commissioners Room, City of Caledonia, 55921 at 5:20 on Thursday, September 22nd, 2022. All persons having an interest in the matter will be given the opportunity to submit comments relative to the granting or denying of said application. Comments should be mailed to the Environmental Services Department, 304 South Marshall Street, Caledonia, Minnesota, 55921, or email to martin.herrick@co.houston.mn.us and must be received by Tuesday, September 13th, 2022. Comments in regard to the petition received by the state will be part of the public record and will be made available for review by the Board of Adjustment prior to the meeting.
Going with your staff report.
The requests are for two separate dwellings, one to reduce a side yard setback from the west property line, and the second is for another to reduce the rear side setback to the south property line. It's located adjacent to Highway 25. The existing side yard setback for the dwelling located adjacent to the west quarter property line, to the west property line, is approximately 37 feet. And the existing rear setback for the dwelling located adjacent to the south property line is approximately 27 feet. Both rear and side yard setbacks are in the agricultural protection district and the setbacks are 50 feet. For compliance with the Houston County zoning ordinance, side yard setbacks, a variance of 13 feet is requested from the west line and a setback of 23 feet for the south quarter line. As kind of a background, and Fred can expand on this, the dwelling near the west side was originally, it appears that it was about 42 feet from the line, possibly even when it was built.
Yeah.
And then an additional structure was added that encroached on it a little more, so it's now to the point of being,
Or 47 feet,
it was 47 initially.
47, and Sheldon was here with me when I first applied for that first interim use permit, and they reviewed the area. They looked at it, seen where that pump house was, and so I said, you're encroaching a 50-foot setback. And need to notify the property owner to the west, which was Sheldon.
Okay.
And at that time, when he came up here, he had no issues with it.
But then an addition has been added.
And it's been added. There was a pump house on the backside of that building. And I gave you those measurements. I guess I don't have that in
It
front
looks
of me.
like it's about 5 feet additional of encroachment is what
Closer to? Now you're thinking
reducing it, right? You're down to, it appears to be down to 37 feet is about measuring on Beacon. So that's what we're,
Because I thought with the original pump house that was on the back, so there's a little pump house in the back, and that house is fed by a cistern out by the driveway. And I thought at that time when I got the first interim permit, we were talking 47 feet being 3 foot in non-compliance. Where now there's a windbreak right there behind that house, and where exactly that line is, and
okay.
and Beacon is, is it on the other side of the windbreak? Is it in the middle? I mean, there's no fence there or anything to establish that.
There could be some.
Right, little variance here and
where you're
there.
dialing the line, right?
The reason that we expanded that, it was small at the time, I think was, I want to say maybe it was 5 foot by 5 foot off from the west end of the building and maybe 6 foot long.
Yeah.
And so we had a line coming in there and we had a little pump back there, a little jet pump with a pressure tank.
Sure.
And it wasn't heated from the house. And so we put an electric heater in there. Well, we went through a few different pumps. We put electric heater in there and of course circuit breaker blew and then the pump froze up. Now you got to buy another $600 pump. And where the pump was located in a corner, probably too close to the wall, even with the insulation, too close to the outer walls on both sides. So the idea was when we expanded upon that was to get that pump out away from the wall a little bit more, increase it out. We wanted to also have access with heat from the original dwelling in there. So we wouldn't have to be dealing with electric heater and worrying about more pumps freezing up on me and going. And also we put a washer and dryer in there. So our people there that are even on the interim use could go in there and utilize that building and wash their clothes in there, and I wouldn't have had to tie up a room in that other trailer that we had. So that was the idea behind that and making that a little bigger. So if it was originally 5 foot out and now you figure it's 8 foot.
No,
what's
I
that?
mean, if we were taking it at 42 feet originally, we're taking it at 37 now, so we're saying 5. We're saying 5 on.
Which I would contradict that 42 foot. I don't know that that's,
And that could be, I mean,
Maybe.
it's.
I thought the original one, when originally, does it say it in there on the, with the original, what it was? It may
I'd have
have,
to,
go back on that and see what it was. Irregardless of the setback, I guess on
It's-
that end of
it's-
things, Mr. McElhaney didn't have any issue with it on that, as far as that's concerned.
the other one is that, is this, the other structure near the south property line was permitted as a 16 by 80 interim use dwelling on August 18, 2015. You have the permit with the board packet. Pending placement, the trailer could have met the 50-foot setback. The structure that was placed was a 32 by 80-foot trailer. The structure is supported by piers and not readily movable. The septage is handled by tanks with an alarm system. It's not a drain field. And so it's pumped out. And additionally, the only other compliance condition outstanding is condition number 2 of the August 18, 2015 interim use permit allows a maximum of 8 people residing in the dwelling. The larger unit was placed has a capacity exceeding 8 people. And it's our understanding that, currently it's not more than 8 people are occupied in it.
Yeah, there's 9 rooms in there. So, I mean, I can't argue that the original permit, interim use permit was for a 60 by 80-foot trailer. And that, when I met the committee, that was on 6/25/2015. Shortly, I think very shortly thereafter, I don't know, some of you fellers may or may not know, I'm not the lone, in fact, I'm not even the majority owner. I have a partnership with a feller by the name of Fred Westcott from Elgin, Minnesota, and that's where we take our apples and send them up there, and that's where they're packed out. So he's a majority owner, I'm the minority owner. And he's the one that found these trailers. So we ended up finding a trailer from the oil fields up in North Dakota. And when that got shut, these things became available. In fact, 4 of them were purchased. We purchased 1, and then another grower purchased 2, and another grower purchased 1. We bought 4 of these trailers. There's 10 rooms in that trailer. One of the rooms that we have right now, we turned it into a mudroom, so there's 9. And according to the H2A laws and the housing, you have to have so many square feet per room per individual. And in those rooms, we can put 2 workers per room, and each room's got its own shower, it's got its own toilet, and it's got its own sink. So really, it was a trailer made in heaven for a guy like me that's trying to grow apples. I as far as I can't. All I can tell you is, I wasn't trying to do anything nefarious. And I can't recall, 2015, 7 years ago exactly, or could tell you, exactly what happened. I can't imagine the fact that I didn't talk to, I believe it was Bob at the time, Scanlon, and I didn't notify him about the trailer. I kind of recollect in my mind that was done. I kind of recollect him saying, well, I don't think we need to redo a permit as it is an interim use. And him maybe also stating, whether he remembers this or not, I don't know. But I kind of remember him stating, well, it doesn't really matter whether it holds 8 people or 18 people. It's an interim use permit. I don't think we need to go through all of that again. You guys had approved that 18, then it went to the next level. And I mean, really shortly thereafter, by the middle of August of that same year, where we were in a race against time, and we were trying to get this trailer in there, so I had a place to put my people when they came. And we used to put them in a ranch motel down in La Crosse, and well, that was gone. We had them in some extended stay housing in La Crosse. Well, that's not the best of all options, and some of that disappeared. It's like, we've got to get some housing in there. And, you know, from the 26th of June until the middle of August, we had a trailer and set in place. I mean, and through all of that, I mean, I'm trying to grow my apples and get this built. I mean, and everything was going 100 miles an hour. I don't know what to tell you. I'm basically at the mercy of you guys. I know. I remember having that conversation as far as setback with Sheldon, and I also remembered having a conversation with Paul. He said he didn't remember it. His wife said she did. Again, neither here nor there. It's I honestly I don't know how it all shook down and why it was got put in there and why some of those conversations maybe weren't recorded. I don't know. I can't tell you. I don't know if there's anything else I can add to it. The trailer got put in there. I don't remember. I know with the septic system, Mr. Frank came
And we have records on that.
and he came in and inspected it ahead of time. I gotta believe Bob came in there and looked at the site ahead of time, and really where that trailer is sitting was really the best spot for it. Kind of sits behind my cold storage, a little privacy for them. It was close to the electric. It was close to our water where we could drain that other cistern, punch a hole in the side of it and run a water line over there to the trailer as well. And if I'd have put it out in front, now you got the trailer, it's out in front of it. It's a bit more visible from the highway. Not that I think trailers are a bad view or anything, but really just where it sits is the best, really the best spot for it. We couldn't put it down next to the other house that I had there. That would have entailed bringing in a bunch of fill. We had issues with power lines. I had to get a hold of, at that time it was Tri-County Electric, even with the trailer. And bring those guys out and look at the site, and they didn't have a problem with it. As long as it, okay, we were 27 feet from the property line. They said, as long as we get a truck in here behind the building to do what we need to do, we don't have an issue with it. So lots of things were going on at the time and everything was running, gun and going. So I honestly don't. And the reason that this became relevant again is because I had applied for a sign. We have a wedding venue up there as well. On my side of the road, on the north side of the road. And I applied for a permit from the county to put a sign there for parking and for our venue. And of course, then they've got to review the whole property and that's fine and dandy. And this is how this all came about again. So 7 years later, here I am, you know, and I know if you guys don't approve of this, it's going to be considerable undertaking to go ahead and have to move that trailer back. I'm not sure, and I see Paul is here with his wife Julie. If they're going to object to it, for sure not. But if we've got to move it, it's going to take some doings, you know, to unhook it. Everything that we got 4 foot pilings. I go down 4 foot. It's 80 foot long. There's 3 of them every 10 to 15 feet apart all the way down. We'd have to redo that. Move the trailer. I'd have to buy tires because tires that we had were coming down their shot. Pick the thing up, move it back over onto that, restrap it down, rehook the septic, rehook the water, rehook the electrical. And then I'd have to run in another road from the highway to come around the north side of my cold storage there. So I get trucks in there to back up to my dock to load fruit in the fall. So what that would entail, I don't know, but I guarantee you, well, I don't know, but it's going to be considerable, I would imagine, you know, so. But here's where I stand. I don't know if you guys got any more. Here's where I sit, I guess I should say. And
Board members have
That's-
questions for Fred?
questions there.
When you got this permit, did they tell you up there that what the setbacks were?
Yeah,
But yet you went ahead and put it there anyway?
well, they knew what the setbacks was, and that's why I had to contact both Sheldon and Paul. And
I'm talking about the county here. County, when when you applied for a permit, whether we like to.
As far as I can remember.
Why didn't you put it on the? Why didn't you get a variance before you ever put the building in, or why didn't you
Good.
set it 50 feet? so
That's a good question. That's a good.
Well, I'm
question.
asking you.
I don't know, I'm a,
Well, I mean, you sit there and say, well, this one said that and that one said that. They're not making the decisions for the ordinance of the county. These people you're talking about.
I guess, I don't know. I mean, all I could say is, here's where the site was located. I know, this is why I had to contact people because we still weren't gonna be within that 50-foot setback. And, the building to the west, and they had that on, and even the trailer, even if I had to put the 16 by 80-foot trailer as it said, and as I applied for, and as I showed those guys, we were still gonna be, we still were not gonna be in, we still would have been 7-8 foot in non-compliance even then, as that sits. And therefore, that's why, from what I can remember, discussions were had with the adjoining property owners. Why that wasn't recorded, or to that effect, I don't know. I can't tell you. I really don't. I don't know. I can honestly say I wasn't trying to do anything nefarious. No one would. The problems that this could cause, I guarantee that. I wasn't trying to do anything nefarious. Here's what I recall, and that's all I can
Yep.
tell you.
I would like to. Anyone else have questions for Fred now? Otherwise, I want Paul.
Yeah.
Come up here and take the mic.
So I guess the one thing I want to comment on, he's saying that he had a conversation with us. There was no conversation as to the fact that it was in 50 feet, that it was approaching 50 feet. None at all. And I don't remember a conversation, period. The fact that that first part, that one trailer house is 16 by 80, it's still within the 50 feet. So that's not an excuse.
Yeah.
The biggest thing that really bothers me about this is the fact that it happened. Why did it happen? Why did it happen? If we have a 50-foot setback, why did it happen? Period. So, and I tried to call Eric Johnson, who's accountable to making sure that these things don't happen. The other thing I've struggled with this whole time is I want a neighbor. I want a good neighbor. Okay. So I don't want to tick off my neighbor, but do I have to police my own boundaries when things get done? Because I don't recall being told this or being invited. I mean, I probably was invited to something, but nothing was saying that it was within the 50 feet. Nothing. And it happened. So why did it happen? I called and asked him, and he doesn't know why it even happened. I asked other records showing that they knew or somebody inspected. Do we even inspect these properties? Right now, he's talking about using Beacon to assess the situation versus going out and measuring. That's concerning to me. So I'm a concerned taxpayer of Houston County wanting to know, why does this stuff happen? Variances are supposed to be approved before you do your building, not after. So that's upsetting to me. Am I upset at him? No, I don't know. I don't want to be. I want to be a good neighbor, but it happened.
And I don't mean to put anything in as far as what you remember. I thought when you guys met with me later that.
We never talked about anything that said it was in 50 feet. I can guarantee you that.
I thought maybe Julie remembered that conversation,
Well, you
but
can
maybe
ask her.
not. And that's fine. And I don't want to put words in Paul's mouth or anything of that effect. I thought my recollection maybe his is different, but I thought it was, and I thought that conversation was sad because I had to have the same conversation with Sheldon on that building on that setback. So
my struggle is that this burden is being placed on me. I want to be a good neighbor. And now I've got to come and figure out what I'm going to do about this, that it's, we're not within the 50 feet. And then the burden's on me to come and either protest or go along with it. And that just doesn't seem right. And that's the part that, I don't know if you guys can help us with that, but how do we get that to change in the future where these things don't happen? My understanding is it happens all the time. That's what I've been informed, so.
Comment.
Go ahead.
When I got a building permit I went up to the zoning office. Applied, asked if I could get a building permit. This is what I was told. They said, well, your setback's 50 feet from the property line, 65 feet from the center of the public road. As far as getting a permit for my building, it was Bob Scanlon was in there then. He said, that's not a problem. But he said, before you build, he said, if you want to get a variance from the 50-foot setback from the property owner, you pay $500 and you'll see if the variance board, I think that's what they called them at that time. I don't know what the proper name was, but before you build. So I'm surprised that they told you to just go ahead and put it there. I'm not picking on you.
No, I
I'm just
understand
merely
that.
saying what I said before. I probably don't always agree with the county ordinances, but when we have them in place, I have to follow them. If I have to follow them, so does it.
I'm trying to remember stuff, and I know, and I even asked Marty, I said, did anybody, seemed to me, I remember Bob coming to look at this, at the site, came for the interim use, and I asked Marty, I said, does anybody come there after the fact and check this out? I don't know, you know, like, my first kind of a rodeo doing that, and like I said, things happen fast. I can't remember from 2015 exactly. I don't know, you know.
So was there a building permit? I asked that question. It wasn't
It's an
answered.
interim use permit.
Interim use permit is all I'm seeing.
Yeah,
So
What about
And it states that, basically all it said was you were gonna be 50 feet from the side setbacks on your use.
did it say that on the permit? Even
Yes.
with the 16 by 80
Of the
foot?
interim use- I can-
50
I can
foot
dig it
on
out.
all the sides.
There it says right there.
Not a building
Well,
permit,
it's
it's
in-
interim use
If-
permit.
if Your packet
So
has,
this is not something that the Board of Adjustment has ever heard before, in my understanding. If it was dealt with, it was dealt.
And there is no difference between a permanent as far as a setback and or interim use or even like a
Interim use is
trailer that
different-
could be
it's a
picked up
special
and more.
one, So that's a different use permit. It's a use permit,
not a
not
variance.
necessarily a building permit.
Right.
yeah, right. And
The way
that,
I understand
here's
it.
the conditions.
So use permit, then you could do
So
whatever you
that
want. Is that what
well,
you're saying, Ken?
Because this is extra housing in the same quarter.
It's in the
another house, so
context
it's
of
very-
the interim.
But it's temporary housing.
Yeah, I understand
So
that. but now-
that's an interim use, but it still should fit in. My understanding, it should still fit into the building permit. Oh,
Well, my question to you is, so then you don't have to abide by the 50 foot? as
no,
long
I
as-
don't, I think it should be. I agree. I
Well,
mean,
we should find out for
From
sure
there,
if
but
that's
it's-
right.
Okay,
I don't know on that one.
I believe,
I
it-
didn't bring the manual that I have.
yeah, no, I mean, if the interim use, well. let's See,
Well, I'm not trying to throw a monkey wrench in here. I'm trying to fight you back.
Well, I'll agree.
Yeah.
I mean, it's, okay, it's temporary ag employee housing in an ag protection district, so it's 14.
You know, and so I have a conversation with Paul and everything that he's saying it's true, it's fact. I got really no leg to stand on.
But it's-
And the buck, I guess, stops with me here on this,
But I mean,
in the end.
so I mean, it's really up to you guys to decide. Obviously, I'm assuming you're listening. What I've struggled with, and I've talked to multiple neighbors and different people, including, I've talked to him for other reasons, but I want to be a good neighbor. It's there. Do I want to cause him to spend a lot of money? I'll be honest with you, I don't care what people think of me. So if this is damaging my property, I'll do what I have to do to make sure that it doesn't negatively affect me. If it isn't going to negatively affect me, I'm not going to stand in the way of him getting this variance. I've investigated, I've researched, I can't find anything that says that my property, if this variance is approved, is gonna be negatively impacted going forward. But I haven't really gotten a lot of help other than recommended by the zoning department. Go hire my own lawyer. And spend my own money to defend myself when I didn't cause the
you're-
problem.
The power line goes right along that property. doesn't it?
Yeah. So what does that mean?
It's just, you got the setbacks from the power line is basic either way.
Okay.
Minimum.
So that's a different problem then?
I don't know if it does or not. I mean, evidently, when he talked to the power line at that time, that just so they can get the trucks behind it.
I'm sure there's an easement for the power line.
Okay, so,
I'm not aware of any that I know of on that, but
so I'm not coming here, I would only come here asking to try to be hard on my neighbor if it was gonna negatively impact me. Does that make sense? And I can't find a reason that it does. But it's very disappointing
It's
that it happened in the
disappointing to see
first
it.
place.
I'll agree with you. It's
trying
disappointing.
to
So what do we
predict the
do about
future.
that? What do we do about that?
Yeah, I don't know.
Because, I mean, you would think somebody would inspect or do something to make sure, wouldn't you? I don't know. I don't know the process of the county, the zoning staff. I don't
I
know.
think that, I think there's always gonna be mistakes. That's just the nature of things. But I think there were,
This isn't, a
at
mis-
some point, that
This
was
isn't a
fairly
mistake.
lax.
this isn't a mistake. They knew
Well,
what they're,
yeah,
they knew
yeah.
what they were doing. Because the 16 by
Well, I don't
80
know
still
that-
doesn't
I
fit
can't-
within.
I can't put that label on it. But I think there was a period where the zoning administrator was quite lax. You'll find that this is old stuff. I think I know the predecessor, he did good. He made sure everything was done. Our current zoning administrator goes by the book. And like I said, our previous one did. I think I gotta be careful here. I believe the previous guy was removed because of that. And I don't know if you've been around this stuff quite a bit, remember?
The truth of the matter is, we end up dealing with a lot of mistakes. And the way that splits were made, most of our work tends to be this kind of thing, granting variances for existing structures that were not properly placed initially, or when they were split, they didn't have the proper setbacks. We're dealing with it all the time, and I've been complaining about it in the process, and I think the process is better now. When splits happen, they have to go to the zoning department to at least look at them before you record. Before that didn't happen. So the truth of the matter is, we're dealing with these kinds of things on a regular.
Yeah, I get it. I get it. I get it. I just, and that's why I'm really here, and I kind of have the impression, I had it before I came here, that, and I'm probably talking to the wrong people, but I want to talk to somebody that I can get and I would hope that you guys would too, that we get a good feeling that, and we can see the processes in place that make sure that this doesn't happen again. That's what I did for the last 11 years of my career, was worked on process improvement. And if you don't have a process documented and you don't observe the people, and it's probably not your responsibility to do that, but the commissioners or somebody has to make sure that our people that we pay tax money to are doing their job. And unless somebody starts telling me, and if I can discover when people start telling me that we have really good processes in place, and not I think, but I know, then my complaint is done. I just don't want this to keep happening to anybody.
And I think that is the case. It's been cleaned up. I know, I used to be zoning administrator in Crescent Township, and they had some of that too. Look back to some of this stuff and I said, was there a permit made for this? Yeah, there is. Nice. Where's the documentation? Oh, that was a verbal permit. You know,
Yeah.
that's,
Okay,
and they said, look, there's two houses on that corner. I said, I don't know. Not on my watch, there isn't. I can't speak for and like I said, the people we have now are
yeah.
good, they're accurate, and they're doing their job
So
right.
do you guys review is it your job or responsibility to review their processes? So you know that? No,
They would get
This is
the-
what comes to me,
Yeah.
us.
we
But
get the- They get the
so
staff.
I have a
reports.
question for Fred.
Sure.
Okay, the permit says it's gotta be 50 feet. And you didn't do 50 feet.
You know,
It was in
Yeah.
2015.
you know, and that's on that south end. So even with the 16 by 80 foot, well, it'd be the east end or southeast end on the other end. I guess as you go east, it gets a little bit more in non-compliance. As you go to the west, it's within the compliance,
no,
right?
it's 43 feet
reverse.
on one end and 27 on the other.
That's what they can
So you're
say.
not within, well, it's their data
That's
too.
right.
Neither end is within, the current structure, neither end is within the 50 feet. And if you get rid of half the trailer, the east end is still
Still.
within the 50 feet.
In
So my
comments,
question is, the 50 feet, you knew it was supposed to be 50 feet and it wasn't.
So if you look at, you see what the map is there, the site map?
Yeah.
On there. I mean, that's exactly what I put in. I didn't move it either direction. Here you can see that there's a road coming in between the two buildings. It sits perfectly perpendicular to the cold storage. So that's exactly where I said I was gonna put the site. I guess again,
So it looks
all I
like
can say is,
to me,
here's
you
what I
put it
recollect.
Where you wanted to put it. You didn't follow the rule.
And I guess that's is that on me? I guess. I don't know. Is it, or is a guy like Marty now who's in charge rather than Bob? Don't they come out ahead of the time? And maybe I wish somebody would have. You know, before all this, like I said, I don't think I honestly could tell you, I wasn't trying to do anything nefarious.
So
the
you didn't know
buck
the
stops-
what you're telling us is you
No, I
didn't know
did- it's-
anything about the.
It seems to me I do
50-foot
remember the 50-foot setback. I'm not denying that on that end of it. I'm trying to recall. Paul does not recall the conversation. But you know, I did have to get, you know, as far as that trailer is concerned. But where it sits is exactly about where I could put it. I couldn't go any closer towards my cold storage. I couldn't even get a truck
Well,
by there.
maybe you should never put one there in the first place, then, if you couldn't.
Well, in hindsight now, you know, I don't
Most
know what
of
to tell you.
most of our variances, Ken, since I've been on here, are buildings that were built before they needed a building permit. When Ken was talking about, we deal with these variants all the time, since I've been on, most of them are that they
Well-
built when they didn't have a building permit. Am I right or am I wrong?
I would guess
A
the
lot of-
majority of them are.
Would I have had to have a variance, Sheldon, with you as far as the encroachment on that end to get a variance on that? I don't,
I mean, if it was, the building was already inside the 50-foot line, you know, George's house was.
yeah.
And.
And when that was put there, I wasn't in charge at that time. I mean, even then, I'm not fully in charge, but that was up to my father was running the show at that time and put that house there. So, and the pump room was also, and it wasn't informed that, okay, we're not, I didn't know, and I was trying to find paperwork as to it, that even the pump room on the backside of that house was not a compliant, or even the building itself. But I seem to remember 47 feet, not 42 feet, and if you're going by Beacon, I mean, can that be off 2, 3, 4, 5 feet? I don't know.
It can be off a couple feet easily.
Yeah, you know, I don't know, so.
Strikes me that we're not gonna solve anything
No,
based on what we don't
No.
know.
right.
Well,
What we need to do is make a decision on what we do.
yeah, I want to just once follow, I'm guessing you'd like some satisfaction that the process is being followed.
I think I think everybody should want that. I think you guys should want that. I think our commissioners should want
Yeah,
that.
yeah, I agree. I would just,
So I-
but Marty, who do you answer to? The Board of Adjustment or
I answer
the
to the commissioners,
supervisors?
the commissioners.
Yeah, so that's, that's who watches him.
Yeah, so I tried talking to Eric Johnson. He's my commissioner, but doesn't have a voicemail. So whatever.
But
But I'll keep
I
trying.
mean, I don't mean to put you off, but that's,
No,
that's,
I came here wanting myself to be heard and hoping that somebody would carry the message even to the commissioners, not just me. Because it's not just me, it's the whole county that we really need to understand that
well,
we have a
and-
good process and that these will not, that we'll inspect these and it won't happen in the future.
well, and that's what I was saying before,
The
that,
other, I'll add something here. that
Yep.
There's the inspecting part, and you hit on it, the documentation part.
Yeah.
And that's something that we're certainly working with Schneider, the consulting, the consultant that we have. So when we go out on sites, we're gonna add layers to our system that show this was the date, this is what we saw, here's the dimensions,
Yeah.
and it will auto-fill into the system, showing that this is exactly what we had
Yeah.
at that time.
My brother builds homes in the Crescent and different cities and they're there like weekly, if not more. They're people that are watching the zoning and all the ordinances are there inspecting them all the time. And not that we need to be there all the time, but when you leave it up to the landowners, it's not working real good. I guess.
well, like I said, I was the zoning administrator in Crescent Township for a while. And I went out to every time they put the footings in, I figured I can move them.
Yeah.
You got the footings in before you build, give me a call and I'll measure.
Right.
And like I say, I mean, we have good people there now.
Yeah.
And we've had for quite some time, right?
Right. So I'm just using your time. I don't need to.
Well,
I
but
wanted to be
no,
heard,
it's-
so appreciate
I
it.
think it's
A
good
lot of
to,
The problem is.
good to say
county
you're watching.
Administrator and zoning people at that time dropped the ball, so to speak.
Yeah.
So I
They
just,
didn't follow up
I
where
would-
they should have.
I would just say in my research, I'm not finding anything where it's negatively impacting my property. I
Yeah.
mean, as long as I can resell it and the variance doesn't negatively impact me, I don't really see a reason to, but I don't have the authority to say what you do, but I'm not here begging for you to make and move the building. I'm here just wanting to be heard. How do we make sure this doesn't happen in the future? And you're giving me some assurance and maybe I'll keep researching and working with other people to make sure we have, that our processes are better. And
On my end, I appreciate Paul's concerns and I appreciate Marty, and I've had that conversation and everything, you're trying to cross your T's and dot your I's. And so I appreciate that. I wish I wasn't here dealing with this right now, obviously, but
We don't like dealing with this either.
no, I know, and I understand that. And so I can tell you, but
Anyone-
I've learned some things even with what I've had to go through with my venue across the road and
Anyone else here in the public want to comment on this issue?
I did find your interim farm dwelling definitions for that too, so.
Board members have any more questions, comments that they want to make on this hearing?
I don't want to interrupt, but what did
Oh,
you
no,
want?
yeah. Well, Franklin had a question on the interim
Okay, go ahead.
dwelling
I'm sorry.
on section 29. And we did find the definitions and it relates to, it's a dwelling for those activities. It doesn't really get into the building part of it. It's by virtue of, it's not a dwelling, it's housing for employees. And that's the purpose behind it. And when it's no longer in use, it's got to be out of there in 60 days. Did you know that?
well, I knew that when it was I didn't know about 60 days. I just, if we ever, where we're not conducting a orchard
No,
business,
understood. Yeah,
that it has to be
that's-
taken out of
But it
there.
has to comply with the setbacks.
Yes,
But it could be there within the 50 feet for 60 days. Is that what you said?
Oh, no, no,
No,
sorry,
no.
when they're out of business.
When they're out
Oh,
of
they're
business.
out,
Yeah, yeah,
okay,
I-
okay,
That's
okay.
just in
Temporary
addition.
housing has to be removed.
Right, and so that's where I'm
But
trying
they
to,
still had the criteria of the 50, okay, all right.
but it's kind of, it's viewed in this as sort of an activity. It's kind of hard to explain that it's not like a house, you know, it's not quite like a structure, it's mobile. It's kind of like a camper, you know, in a lot of places. If you have tires on something, then it's not regulated the same as something that's anchored to the ground.
So when you put a camper or a cabin, if it doesn't have a foundation under, for example, a cabin, and you got tires under a camper, you still have to have a permit or,
No.
but you gotta follow the setbacks.
No, those, that, I shouldn't use that as an example, other than where I was going with it is they're not deemed the same, although they're a place where people can reside. I guess that's what I was trying.
But this here falls into a different category because he's using it for housing, is that?
It's housing and then it's
Semi-permanent.
yeah, I mean, it lands in kind of this middle ground.
I suppose the other way you could have provided temporary housing with just some of the little pull-in campers and stuff like that. That could have been. pulled
You know,
in
and then
out
we
all
were
the
looking
time,
at
but
a-
That wouldn't really, there's no
Yeah.
permanent hookups or anything.
Yeah, we're
Not real
water and
practical.
where you're gonna shower and,
Yeah.
and everything, so.
Any other comments, questions from board members? Let's move on and
Go to the findings.
do the findings.
Okay. First finding is the variance request is in harmony with the intent and purpose of official controls. Staff analysis, dwellings for agricultural workers are allowed in the agricultural protection district. The goal of the comprehensive land use plan is protection of agriculture.
Comments, questions? All in favor of staff analysis, say aye.
Aye.
Go ahead.
Number two, there are practical difficulties in complying with the official controls and the proposed use of the property is reasonable. Economic considerations alone do not constitute practical difficulties. Staff analysis. The 32-foot by 80-foot trailer was placed to work in concert with the existing infrastructure, and moving it would entail considerable expense. Neighboring property owners are not interested in selling at this time.
Okay. Go ahead.
Am I allowed to still speak? Can I still speak?
Yes.
So are we, is this claiming a financial hardship if it has to be moved then or what?
I'm trying to identify what the hardships are.
Because you can't cause a financial hardship on yourself. Right?
And well, and the other side of it is, you know, economic considerations alone are not the practical.
Okay, all right.
You see that?
Yep.
So,
So then you didn't want to sell any land to him.
Why would I sell it?
Well, I'm just.
I mean, I have
going with staff
I have a-
analysis.
yeah, we're just documenting is all we're doing on that.
I don't know why I would.
Okay, sure. No, it isn't that you have to by any means. We're not.
No, we're not, nothing that says. you
We're
have
just,
to.
we're just
No, do you
documenting.
think I should?
No.
No, I was just going by what is written in staff analysis.
I see.
The neighboring property owners are not interested in selling at this time, so I was wondering if you'd been approached, that's why I'm.
It's just looking at
Brought
the
up these
practicalities of what are and are not
I
available.
was approached, yes.
So
But I
that's
don't.
all.
Okay. Any other comments or questions on this? Staff analysis? All in favor of staff analysis, say aye. Opposed, same sign.
The reason I want to comment is what I just said about the property owners not interested in selling at this time.
That's the comment you wanted. Yeah, okay.
Okay, number three. Variance request is due to special conditions or circumstances unique to the property and not created by the property owner. Staff analysis, the approved 16 by 80-foot trailer could meet the setback requirement and work with existing infrastructure. The unapproved 32 by 80 trailer that was placed exceeded the rear yard setback of the south line. The addition on the dwelling located close to the west line appears to have exacerbated the non-compliance by an additional 5 feet.
Any comments or questions? My own comment is, I think part of the it's and zoning administrators at that time creates the problem. It's a combination.
I agree.
Well, we're not so sure about that.
It's
We're,
just
we're going by what Fred says.
in the documentations that they never went back and were supposed to inspect, and I don't, from what I hear, they never went back.
I don't remember.
I mean,
Is
it appears, in my opinion, there was a dropping of the ball, very definitely but it's not saying that you weren't partially responsible.
No, and I'm
I
not
think
trying
that's
to
what
say
I'm
that.
I think both parties in that time created the problem.
I'm trying to remember 7 years ago. I remember from what I can remember, can't guarantee that Bob did come out and inspect once those pilings and such were in the ground, that Bob was around there, maybe even more than one time.
But they didn't
that's my
object.
recollection.
They didn't object if they saw something wrong at that time either.
Oh, I
That's
didn't
the other issue.
get that.
There was no stop work order
Right.
recorded.
We've done
I can
that
tell you that.
ourselves since.
Stop work orders are done, absolutely.
So that's my only concern myself. I think there's a shared responsibility for it. It's a tough one. Any other comments or questions on this? All in favor of staff analysis, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign.
Okay. Number 4, the variance cannot be alleviated by a reasonable method other than a variance, and the minimum variance which would alleviate the practical difficulty is sought. Staff analysis, the board may find that the 27-foot variance of the south quarter line is the only way to feasibly resolve the 50-foot rear setback issue, and that the 13-foot variance to the side yard setback for the west line are the minimum variances that would alleviate the compliance concern.
Any comments or questions? All in favor of staff analysis, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign.
Number 5, the variance will not alter the essential character of the locality nor substantially impair property values or the public health, safety, or welfare in the vicinity. Staff analysis, the zoning office has not received complaints about either of the existing dwellings. The 32 by 80-foot trailer's view shed is partially blocked from Highway 25 and has a holding tank with an alarm system for managing septage. In the immediate area, the parcel has general agricultural buildings, and the character of the area is not altered by the existing activities.
Any comments or questions concerning this staff analysis? Hearing none, all in favor of staff analysis, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign.
Number 6, the request is not a use variance and shall not have the effect of allowing any use that is not allowed in the zoning district. Permit a lower degree of flood protection than the regulatory flood protection elevation, or permit standards lower than those required by state law. Staff analysis, housing for agricultural workers is allowed in the agricultural protection district. There is no mapped floodplain on the parcel. There are no known state standards applicable to the request.
Any comments or questions? All in favor of staff analysis, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion on the findings.
Make a motion, we accept the findings as presented.
Second to that motion. Second by Franklin. Any other discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Then we need a motion on recommendations, I guess. And if you want to read the recommendations
yes.
you have.
Right. Motion made to grant a variance of 23 feet to reduce setback requirements for an existing dwelling to the south property line to meet the 50-foot setback requirement, and a variance of 13 feet to reduce setback requirements for an existing dwelling to the west property line to meet the 50-foot setback requirement. And the other one would be with the following condition: any future buildings must meet current setback requirements or seek independent variances.
Yes, that would be good to have. Motion to that effect.
I'll make a motion to it.
Is there a second to that motion? Is there a second to the motion?
No second.
Seconded by Wayne. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion carried. Thank you. Thank you, Paul, for your comments.
Thanks,
Right.
guys.
Appreciate it.
I apologize.
It's not
Any
easy to take care
inconvenience
of
or
all
anything
this.
that, this caused, so.
Okay, we gotta move on to our next one. We're running a little late.
Yes, and someone wants to go to a volleyball meet. So we gotta hurry through this.
You can say is I won't be following the rules of the ordinance anymore on my property because if I make a mistake, then you guys will forgive me.
If you make a mistake, yeah.
Maybe we will.
But-
maybe we won't.
But if I refuse,
If when I deliberately make a mistake, you guys will.
that's an oxymoron.
And we should move on,
Okay,
running behind already, so.
okay. Notice of public hearing that an application was received from the following persons for a variance of setback requirements: Norman and Lucille Lemke. Part of the southwest quarter, would be section 29, township 103, range 5, Houston County, Minnesota. Houston Township, variance of setback requirements to reduce rear yard setbacks for a proposed dwelling addition, section 14.9, subdivision 1. The hearing on this application will be held at the Houston County Commissioners Room, City of Caledonia, Minnesota, 55921. It'd be at 5:40. At 5:40 PM on Thursday, September 22nd, 2022. All persons having an interest in the matter will be given the opportunity to submit comments relative to the granting or denying of said application. Comments should be mailed to the Environmental Services Department, 304 South Marshall Street, Caledonia, Minnesota, or emailed to martin.herrick@co.houston.mn.us. It must be received by Tuesday, September 13th, 2022. Comments in regard to the petition received by this date will be part of the public record and will be made available for review by the Board of Adjustment prior to the meeting.
Go ahead with the rest of your report.
Staff report?
Yeah.
The variance request is for a 24 by 26 garage within 50-foot setback for side yards in the Ag Protection District. The proposed garage, the dimensions are shown on your sheet. It's, the setback is from the east property line. It's a wooded site. Vehicle access is from Highway 44. Survey, they did just recently complete a new survey for it. And that was submitted on 9/12/22. The survey, which is attached to this packet, indicates the house has a side yard setback of 26.3 feet from the property line. The proposed garage will encroach the line another 19 feet, leaving 7.3 of remaining setback. Based on the survey, the application is revised to request a 43-foot variance to the 50-foot side yard setback requirement.
Applicants, if you wanna come up and. See your-
Up here, yep, there you go.
Get any other information we can from you. Did you have have anything to add?
Well, Milton Sherburne, he owns land to the east. And then
Could you identify yourself?
I'm Norman Lepke.
Thank you.
Anyway, and then he stopped in last week. We were in the yard playing with the dog. And he stopped in and they were going to town. He's something like, I didn't have any problem with it. That's all I heard. So,
And we received no comments. I was just going to, no objections.
okay.
In the land behind there is either woodland or cropland. There are no building sites nearby on the backside that I'm aware of.
And the relief is tough. You don't have a lot of flat space there in order to try to put anything. It's,
Oh, for future,
yeah,
yeah, no, there's really no area you could build on in that wooded part.
it's
Yeah.
really tough.
It's, I saw the site today on my way out, it's just logical, and it's just, where else? You
Yeah.
know, so
Yes.
it's just a logical spot to put a garage. I would have no objection.
I guess any board members have any other questions or comments for the applicants? Otherwise, I'm ready to go on to the findings. We have this process. I don't
And
have to do it.
Number one, findings required. The variance request is in harmony with the intent and purpose of official controls. Staff analysis, the residence is allowed in an ag protection district and associated structures are located in the non-silviculture acreage of the parcel, aiding the preservation of commercial agriculture, which is a goal of the comprehensive land use plan. This is in harmony with the general trend of increasing farm size. Commercial farmers require additional crop land, but do not necessarily require additional farmsteads. Additionally, the parcels, ponds, and reforestation protect natural resource, which is also a goal of the comprehensive land use plan.
Any comments or questions? All in favor of staff analysis, say aye.
Aye.
Number two, there are practical difficulties in complying with the official controls and the proposed use of the property is reasonable. Economic considerations alone do not constitute practical difficulties. Staff analysis concerning the proposed building, any resolution other than a variance would involve the acquisition of additional lands, which necessitates a willing seller. Difficulties are compounded by the lot's elevations and the need for a second location for a septic system.
Comments or questions? All in favor of staff analysis, say aye.
Aye.
Post same sign.
Number three, the variance request is due to special conditions or circumstances unique to the property and not created by the property owner. The parcel has staff analysis. The parcel has limited buildable locations due to steep slopes. The owner's limited options to resolve the issue represent a special condition not created by the property owner. The board may find further that the limited areas represent a special condition.
Comments, questions? All in favor of staff analysis, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign.
Number four, the variance cannot be alleviated by a reasonable method other than a variance, and the minimum variance which would alleviate the practical difficulty is sought. Staff analysis, the board may find that the variance related to the proposed building is the only way to feasibly resolve the setback issue, and that the 43-foot variance to the 50-foot side yard setback is the minimum variance that would alleviate the practical difficulty of limited buildable space on the property.
Questions? All in favor of staff analysis, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Go ahead.
Number five, the variance will not alter the essential character of the locality nor substantially impair property values or the public health, safety, or welfare in the vicinity. Staff analysis, the existing building and the proposed garage are blocked from most view sheds by the terrain and the woodland. The garage will not have a septic system or any commercial activities. The addition of the garage is not anticipated to have any effect on the above criteria.
Comments, questions? All in favor of staff analysis, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign.
Number six, the request is not a use variance and shall not have the effect of allowing any use that is not allowed in the zoning district, permit a lower degree of flood protection than the regulatory flood protection elevation, or permit standards lower than those required by state law. Oh, sorry, staff analysis not attached. Automotive garages are allowed accessory buildings for a single family dwelling in agricultural protection districts. There is no map floodplain on the parcel. There are no known state standards applicable to the request.
Comments, questions? All in favor of staff analysis, say aye.
I,
Opposed, same sign. With that, we need a motion to accept the findings as presented.
I'll make the motion, we accept the findings as presented.
Motion by Larry, seconded by Kenny Viscar. Comments or questions on this? All in favor, say aye.
I,
Opposed, same sign. Motion on your
Recommendations. Board must consider the information presented above and the criteria findings pursuant to section 1205 of the Houston County zoning ordinance. Should the board elect to grant the variance request, staff will recommend no conditions. The proposed motion grant the following variance of 43 feet from the east property line.
You need
So
someone
moved.
to make a motion, so moved. Motion by Kenny.
43 feet.
43 feet, are you reading
That's-
off the yellow
think-
highlighted stuff, so we have the same language?
Right.
Order?
You're right. Gotta do that.
The language is
Yep,
correct.
we gotta match it.
Okay, here, do you want it?
Yeah. One of the things that the numbers changed when the survey came.
Oh, okay.
Right. Made a motion to grant a variance of 40. Made a motion to grant a variance of 43 feet to reduce setback requirements for a proposed dwelling addition to the west property line to meet the 50-foot setback requirement. Let's see. West. No, it's the
That's-
east.
No,
Okay,
that's
let's change
east.
that.
Yeah.
Let's cross that out.
east,
Yeah, east property line,
Right.
but we have to have
Got
the
all
same.
kinds of little lots.
Same verbiage.
Yeah.
And then, okay, yep.
The east property.
I'll move what she said.
Okay.
I'll second it.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any other discussion, comments, questions? All in favor, say aye.
I,
Aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion carried.
Very good.
what time does your game start?
7 o'clock
Where is it?
down in Houston.
Ooh,
Girls knowledge.
Yeah.
Hey, I move we adjourn.
Motion to adjourn by.
I have a question.
Oh, sure.
Doesn't relate to this, but I was asked and I wanted clarification. If you have a building, for example, like the back 40 had, and the building, existing building, and you want to change it for some unknown reason, you have to get a permit to do that. In that we can use him, for example, out there, we can use for storage.
mhm.
If I had a building, it's already built, it's all setbacks and everything, I can do whatever I want with that building.
Basically, the first thing you're gonna do is you're gonna look at what district it's in, whether it's in highway business or ag protection. You know, there's various categories, and they will identify in there what are permitted activities. And then they will identify in there what are conditional use activities. And then they will identify in there what are possibly interim use activities. So it's kind of a maybe. It would be specific to the activity
Thank you.
that you're looking at. So I can't say automatically yes or no.
So are these county ordinances, or are they
These
fall
are,
into state, or?
these would be what the county has, but in a lot of instances, the county adopts pretty much what is recommended language that's commonly used in most municipalities and counties in the state of Minnesota. So they're pretty similar. The findings are, and the criteria for evaluating it are very similar. So in other words, like what you guys were doing with the variance, absolutely. Those are very across the board, and those go back to Minnesota statute under 394. And so it says the counties are given the authority to implement these programs, and they have these as the demonstration. Now, as for the specifics of, you know, are you gonna allow this size building, or are you gonna allow this type of activity? Those are commonly recommended, but they're not the same. I mean, look at Fillmore County does stuff differently than Houston County. And so the answer across the board is we have to take a look at what it is, and in some instances, it could very well be that it is allowed. Highway Business District has more things in it than ag, but ag has different things. And that's part of how the comp plan gives us the sense of direction on where to go in writing the ordinances, is that what we're trying to protect and what we're not trying to, what we're trying to promote and what our motives are.
I think another part to that is, what I was thinking he was asking is, if we want to make a change to that building, put windows or whatever, as long as you don't change the footprint,
Okay.
You don't
If-
need
if-
any.
If that's what you're asking, yeah, for the most part, though, that, yes, those don't usually require a permit if you're not changing the square footage.
Yeah, that what I was getting at, if the building was already there and I wanted to, or this person asked me, wanted to change it to something else. And I said, well, I just really
So there's
don't.
two pieces. One says the alterations, then the uses.
Second.
Oh, yeah, right, we need to
We
close
had a
out.
motion, Kenny Brisker made a motion to adjourn. Is there a second to that motion?
I'll second it.
Okay.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye.